I want one disclaimer, I have to leave by 11:30.
Oh, we'll be out of here by then.
Well, I've heard that before.
I'd like to-
Just saying.
Touche.
I've got a
Just saying.
10:30, so I've got to step out at 10:30. I can probably get to the
I want one disclaimer, I have to leave by 11:30.
Oh,
Sorry,
we'll be out of here by
sorry,
then.
hang on.
Well, I've heard that before. Just saying. Okay.
All right, there we go.
Okay, I'd like to call the December 23rd, 2025 meeting of the IDA to order. Tim, can you take a roll call, please?
Nick Canelli,
Present.
Mary Ellen Chesbro,
Present.
Pat Carroll,
Here.
Trish Peter Clark,
Present.
Tim Stahl is here, and Gary Sander here, and Mark Rick is absent excused. We have a quorum.
Okay. Everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Trish and Mel. Any comments, questions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are passed. Notice the meeting was on the Cal Times on January 9th. Financial report from December. Kevin, you want to take this?
Just real quick
Sure,
before,
Nick, there's,
just
yeah.
Kevin,
go ahead, Austin.
just wanted to state staff that is present as well, just for anybody who watches. Austin Wheelock, CEO of the IDA, is present. Kevin Lamontagne, CFO of the IDA, is joining us remotely. Nate Emmons, staff of operations Oswego County, is here as well, and Kevin Caracoli, general counsel for the IDA, is in attendance. Sorry, Kevin.
No worries. So there aren't a lot of updates to for this month, kind of very similar to last month. We'll cover delinquent loans and also the pilot EDF report later in the meeting. I have no particular comments really this month. Everything seems to be in line. We have a meeting in early next week with Barclay Damon and Kevin Caracoli to go through projects that we hope to be able to push to close by the taxable status date of March 1st, but certainly by the end of our fiscal year to push in some closings of previously approved projects. So some of them have been pending a while. So I don't really have any other comments today, Nick. Are there questions?
Questions? Can we get a motion?
I'll make it.
Tim? All right, second Pat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Financials are approved. Thank you, Kevin. Next up.
Sure.
Town of Scrupule, OCIP, water tower and pump house engineering evaluation.
I can handle this. So we had a recent conversation with Town of Scrupule that, looking at the water tower and pump house in particular, we're not part of the original scope of CNS's studies looking at the infrastructure at the park. These are both assets that are owned by the Town of Scrupule, but they are both integral to the project. So what the town has asked us is if we could, as part of our ongoing engineering studies, review the capacities of the pump house that feeds the water tower there to make sure that and if there's any improvements that are required to the town that we, they're not asking us to make the improvements, just to perform the study as part of our overall thing. So I look at it as we probably should have had this part of the scope originally. I feel it's on us to look at this because it's part of our project. So we have already. I'm not asking for additional dollars to be allocated for engineering. We already have funding that has been allocated. Just that we authorize CNS to proceed with this as part of the studies that they've already done to get this moving along. So we don't find any surprises later on.
Thoughts, questions? They wouldn't have to do the improvements if we weren't picking to make the park bigger, so.
That's right.
So it's on us, so. Okay. We're good.
Yeah, we just have to take
Need a
just
motion
authorize.
on that?
Yeah, I would take a motion just to.
Take a motion. I'll move it. Gary, second Pat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So we'll get on that and have that move forward. Appreciate that.
5 Fast New York grant application for the industrial park expansion.
Yeah, so this will be Nate and myself. I'm actually gonna kick it over to Nate to kind of talk about, and I'll just fill in any blanks or answer any questions that you may have.
So we are in the final stages of putting our information together to submit for Fast New York. We have maybe 1 or 2 things left, so our intention is to apply by the end of this month. And so the project currently, our cost estimates are 12.182 million. So almost just a shade over $12 million is the cost estimate right now. As you recall, the IDA committed $2.5 million toward this project, and we received a grant, ADA grant for $2.5 million as well. So that's a total of $5 million. So we are intending to apply with your approval to apply for $7.2 million from Fast New York. And as Austin and I discussed, we feel it appropriate for the IDA to give us that final authorization to move forward with full application and for that amount of funding.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, so the way that the authorization would be not, grant application not to exceed $7.2 million ask. And so for your information, these expenses covers all electrical infrastructure improvements, plus substation, plus all gas infrastructure improvements, plus all telecommunications improvements, plus site readiness to get any sites ready, cut and fill for development, soft costs and contingency. So
Does it cover any of the sewer or water?
those are covered with the EDA grant. And the EDA grant only covers public infrastructure. They do not consider electric and gas and telecommunications public infrastructure because it's not owned by a town or a,
It's not something that's still gonna be out there.
Right, so what I would say is if, the anticipation is the full award, if for some reason that if you do not get the full award, there's ways that we can reduce and, potentially it doesn't get extended all the way into the industrial park, maybe we go in a certain portion. Yeah, you can adjust the scope, so we're going for the whole thing to get the whole project done. And that's the hope and anticipation, but if it comes back and it's a lower number, we have plans to, reduce the scope or potentially find other ways to do it, potentially with, cost sharing from users of the park or the new users of the park and things like that. But like I said, we putting it out there because this is what it is and we'll see what we get and we'll go from there. But I feel pretty confident about it. It's a very important project and the state understands that. And we're also coming with a pretty good match as well. It's not quite 50%, but it's more than I've seen in most cases for these types of applications. So I feel pretty strongly that it'll be received well. And like I said, worst case, we'll figure out how to phase the project or bring other resources to the table. Okay.
How long will it take before we know whether, we're good to go? And
Good question. State has been looking at these in batches. So our plan is to get this in. I would anticipate we're gonna get questions back from them relatively quickly. They haven't done a new announcement in a little while. I think the last one they did was probably like October, November. They do probably about 3 of them a year. So I'm thinking in the spring, but if it's something where we need to move faster, then there potentially could be some special announcement. I've seen that happen as well especially when there's a project involved. I saw that with Fairlife out in Rochester. They had a special announcement for their Fast New York thing. So I think that this is one of the state's more flexible programs. Some of them are not flexible, but I think this one is sort of a high priority from the governor. And I think that, if we need to make it move, our anticipation and sort of our goal is to break ground in 25. So I think that.
so we are gonna break this.
Yeah, and it's just,
At least the fancy picture with the shovels, right, by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So,
Then shouldn't you notify, or you already have notified,
CMI crops.
yeah, CNY to say.
Yeah.
Don't play.
Letter went out the other day.
Okay, I was wondering about that, is because they really kind of need to know pretty soon.
no, you know the things we gotta do and we're on top of that.
Okay.
And we do have an EDA grant as well that has timelines attached to that, so we will certainly impress upon the state that, given that we have this other grant, in layman's terms, sooner the better sort of thing, than it's now.
The EDA grant shows breaking ground happening in September, so we
Excellent.
need to stay to that schedule.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? So we want a motion for authorization for this?
Yeah, and we'll, with Kevin's help, draft up a resolution to follow, but you know, it's gonna be pretty simple, you know, authorization to submit for Fast New York with a, you know, for a grant request not to exceed $7.2 million.
So moved.
Second.
Tricia and Mel, any questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6. IDA Governance Committee meeting.
Yeah, so this is something that we need to do. This would be an introduction meeting. The governance committee is made up of Nick Nally as the chair, Pat Carroll, Mel Chesborough, and Gary Standard. But what I would say is that all are welcome. You know, those are the ones who make up the governance committee, but in the past when we've had it, it doesn't hurt to have everybody there and kind of understanding what's going on. But what we need to do, and so the way this is structured is the hour before the IDA meeting starts on February 27th would be a governance committee meeting. You know, what we would do is just an introduction to review and bylaws and some of the policies that may need to be revised in the coming year. And then what we have done recently is that those suggestions are then made and recommended at the annual meeting, which is in August. So we have time to kind of figure this out, but we need to get this started because there may be some necessary changes required. You know, potentially even looking at things like, you know, how does the IDA look at housing and things like that. So there, it could be a little more than, you know, your typical annual review of bylaws and policies, you know, with some of the things.
So we do need a full hour then.
We're gonna need an hour there and probably some future hours as well, but this would be the start.
Okay, so that'd be at 11 o'clock, right?
10, or no, 12 o'clock
But I thought ours,
The IDA is at
at 1
oh,
o'clock.
the IDA's at 1,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
For some reason I had it at 12. All right,
Yeah, you probably already had the 12 on there knowing that.
yeah, I
we
had
were
the 12, so I
in the
already, all right.
committee. Yeah. Yep,
Change it again. change
so
it again.
that's just informational, and you know, all the information will be put out on the web, and you know, the meeting will, you know, like our regular board meetings will be live streamed and done properly, so.
Okay. EEC conference.
Yeah, so just wanted to let, so New York State Economic Development Conference, the state does, well, not state, but the EDC does 2 major events throughout the year. They do in February, they do an event in Albany where they do it for the benefit really of the elected officials about economic development. This is an event I will be in attendance for. Some of the topics to be discussed, if you remember before, the IDA supported the Blueprint for Future Economy. That will be one of the major topics of discussion at this meeting. They're also going to have a session on the semiconductor tech hubs and the I corridor. They're going to have a session on broadband infrastructure. They're going to have a session on pilots, another session on regional business attraction strategies. They're going to have one on, this one is also important for us, the new DEC Wetlands Act and how it impacts projects at the IDA and developer level. And also another session on IDA cost benefit analysis tool. So all things that are very important to us and you know, reasons that we should be in attendance for that. So just want to let you know, I will be there for that and have a report at our February meeting and just some of the highlights of that event and things that we should be aware of going forward.
Right.
The other thing, and this is a voting item here, is last year the IDA and Operation Oswego County sponsored the May annual conference that's held every year in Cooperstown. It is a $1,500 request. What that does is it gets us in a lot of the all of the kind of lead up to the event advertising and promotion. It gets us into the event book, gets us in a lot of places that our peers from around the state and economic development and industrial development are in. And so the Operation Oswego County has already committed to a $1,500 request, and what I would request again, like last year, is that the IDA does something similar, and then we can actually have our names together and show it's a partnership. You know, when we're in our advertising. So just asking for that, if the IDA would consider you know, making an addition a $1,500 sponsorship of that event.
I'll make that motion.
And
Okay, yeah.
Second, Tricia.
Has there been a name change yet? For operation?
Not yet, not yet, but
That's
that's
the logo change. They're gonna put that little guy with the board, the buzzing nose.
We, that is underway, and I know that, it's gone out to some of our board members, and it'll also be going out to our stakeholders as well in terms of, looking with that effort, but more to come on that.
Okay. Any questions, comments on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Office renovation, phase 2.
So we, as Operation Oswego County, have been discussing sort of the next phase of office renovations. As you can probably all tell, we have some nice space now, but we still have some space that is lacking, including the office spaces themselves. And so we are working, we pulled together an RFP. We haven't sent it out yet, still in draft form, but we have pulled together an RFP to renovate the office spaces, to redo the ceiling tiles in the throughout the entire space, to put energy efficient lighting throughout the entire space as well. So to kind of bring it to that next phase, as you all know, we continue to expand and grow in terms of our presence, and that means a lot more individuals keep on coming through the office. And so just to give you a clear example, we had some folks in here the other day. They ended up in Austin's office in the pink igloo as it is. And so perhaps we need to kind of continue that process. And we committed, last year to continue to be in this space as opposed to looking elsewhere. And so it's just that sort of natural progression of renovations. This renovation we anticipate will be more costly than the first one, probably somewhere to $50,000 to $100,000. We just don't know until we get that RFP out. We'll be looking to partner a little bit with National Grid where we can, especially on sort of the lighting side of things. And so we'll keep you updated as that progresses forward.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that?
The other thing I would add is that, we do think that that'll be going out here in February, and that, obviously, once we get back numbers and we find a contractor that we can work with, the work will be happening in the spring. So similar to last year, the work was in the spring. I think it was wrapped up about April or
It was,
so.
yep.
Probably on a similar schedule on this as well.
And if any of you know contractors that might be able to do this type of work, we think it's a little more complicated than our first renovation where it was just mostly carpet and paint. This time we're looking for somebody that also maybe has some experience with the NYSERDA grants and in particular when it comes to lighting and National Grid as well. And so if you have any recommendations of contractors that are really good with interior work like this, we would be all ears to get that information from you.
Okay, thank you. And 9.
Yeah, so this is something we had discussed in the past, and we didn't know where it was, as I said the last time, we hadn't gotten direction from the state yet, what was going on with this. Well, on about December 28th, so a few days from the end of the year, this was Assembly Bill number 7532. It was the bill to amend general municipal law to require a representative from local labor and local schools to sit on every IDA board in New York State. I'm going to read you the message from the governor. This is veto message number 117, that the Assembly Bill 7532B was not approved. The governor's statement was, I recognize the need for IDAs to hear from all community stakeholders. It is for that reason that IDAs are required to conduct open hearings, hear testimony from members of the public, and engage with all stakeholders. As the entities contemplated by this bill are already eligible to serve as members of industrial development agencies, it is most appropriate to ensure specific industrial development agency members are chosen by the municipality to best represent the interests of the community, rather than imposing an inflexible statutory requirement. Therefore, I am constrained to veto this bill, and the bill is disapproved. So, not to say that it's not something to consider in the future to have representatives from those, but it is not at this time required by New York State, specifically vetoed by the governor. So we may see a variation or evolution of that bill come back again to be reviewed, because this isn't the first time this has happened. It's been evolved over time to get to that point, but it's not something required now. And so happy to say that You know, the board as it's currently constituted is a legal board and we don't have to make any changes, so.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Governor Hope.
Yes.
It was a good common sense decision and happy to see that there's still some common sense in the state government.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rarity, it was nice.
Okay, so looks like the next few items need to be handled in executive session. Kevin, can you tell us why?
Yeah, it's principally to discuss the financial circumstances of a particular individual or corporation. Excuse me, there's also an update on pending litigation.
Tricia, Duncan, Pat? All those in favor? Motion carries. We are now in executive session as of 8:56 AM.